Morning. My name is Dr. Philip Mamalakis. I am the Assistant Professor of Pastoral Care at Holy Cross. Many of you might know me as the coordinator of the Field Education Program. And I'm here this morning in my role as part of the Marriage and Family Ministries Committee within the metropolis of Boston, which essentially connects the resources of the Archdiocesan Department of Family Ministry here in the metropolis. And so I myself, together with the Chancellor and Mike Sintros and the camp staff, are actively involved in marriage and family ministries. And what I'd like to do today briefly is to share with you some of these ministries that we're engaged in and some of our guiding principles with these ministries, giving an indication about what we're doing, what we're thinking, and where we're going. And those ministries are going to appear momentarily, or maybe they won't. There they go. These ministries that I want to focus on are just four. Number one is marriage preparation. Number two are marriage retreats. Number three are family nights. And number four, family camps. Marriage preparation. This last week I was in Cranston with a marriage program, and there are a few couples there, and I asked the couples, why do people get married? And their answer was, they're in love. They're in love, and that's it, and then they spend a lot of time and a lot of money preparing for this wedding day. And of course we know by love they mean strong feelings of affection and attraction toward each other. And again, all this time and money into preparing for the wedding and not very much time reflecting on actually what is it that we're getting ourselves into in terms of marriage. And the guiding principle we use for working with couples in preparing for marriage is this notion of marriage as a journey. Elder Emilia Noss of Simonopatro says that marriage is a road that begins on earth and ends in heaven. St. Gregory Nazianzus talks about marriage as the key that opens the door to perfect love. So we use the image for marriage as a road trip. We're all familiar with road trips, and if marriage is like a road trip, these couples are ready just to hop in a car with each other and start driving off with no idea of what's coming down the road. And not really prepared to deal with anything that's coming. And we talk to them about if you go on a road trip, consider all the types of things that could go wrong on a road trip. You get a flat tire, you get in an accident, you could get lost, you could have bad weather, you could run out of gas. And then we ask them the difference it means in preparing to have a flat tire or not being prepared to have a flat tire. And so we engage couples in this conversation of stopping to think a minute about in what ways there are many predictable, almost expected challenges that you can expect on this journey of marriage, and then stopping to think about how to prepare for that. So the Journey of Marriage is an archdiocesan program that was developed in collaboration with the Department of Interfaith Ministries, Father Charles Journeys, Holy Cross Seminary, myself, and the metropolis of Boston. Essentially, we were building on a long tradition in this metropolis of helping couples prepare for marriage. And there's good news and there's bad news in terms of how it's gone. The good news is, at the metropolis, we offer the seminar 8 months out of the year. And in many cases, we've had 35, 40 couples in attendance at these pre-marriage seminars. And they come from as far away as New Hampshire, Worcester, and Rhode Island. And the bad news is, we hold these seminars at the metropolis, and they come from New Hampshire and Rhode Island and Connecticut to attend. So the vision of this ministry is to go to New Hampshire and facilitate setting up these ministry there, to go to Rhode Island and offer that ministry there, to go to Worcester and support the establishment of these ministries. So we hope to do that in the coming year, is to be able to facilitate so couples don't need to drive all the way into Boston. And we'd like to take some gentle steps towards creating more of a retreat format for couples, that you're not coming in to sit and listen to a lecture in a seminar. We are actually inviting / requiring couples to take a day off and retreat. Number two, marriage retreats. We meet families. The Department of this Ministry of Marriage and Family connects with couples as they're preparing for marriage, and then we look at how can we assist them in continuing to stay married. The guiding principle for providing a space for couples to take time out of their daily lives, to go somewhere, the retreat center, and just to reconnect with each other and remind themselves of what they got married in the first place, is this notion of an icon. The icon is our guiding principle. In what ways? Well, we're all familiar with icons. We see them all the time. And if I were to ask you, if you look around the room, do we see any icons in this room? Well, if we understand what a person is, and we understand a person as created in the image of God, we can understand the church's ideas and the church's understanding that the person is an icon of Christ. And so marriage retreat is about rethinking what it means that my spouse is an icon of Christ. And our understanding historically of how we treat icons and how we don't treat icons shapes what a marriage retreat really means. We know we don't desecrate icons. We know that would be scandalous if somebody vandalized an icon. Yet somehow in marriage, we're tempted to desecrate the icon of Christ in our spouse with the way we speak, the way we treat each other, along this journey of marriage. And a retreat is just a time to rethink that. We also know in our tradition we don't worship icons. We don't. We worship only Christ. And sometimes in marriage, couples need to rethink, what does it mean to love my spouse? Do I just give in? And it's tempting to slip into a type of worshiping of an icon rather than worshiping Christ. And a marriage retreat means that we need to understand, how do we relate to icons as Orthodox? We venerate them. We venerate them. And what does that mean in marriage? It's guiding couples to understand, what does that mean to venerate my spouse? To stand silently in front of, to listen, to attend to, and to pay attention to. Those are our guiding principles for marriage retreats, and what we hope to do in the upcoming year is to offer these at the Metropolis Center. The third ministry I want to discuss is if marriage leads to setting up of a home, and in many cases it leads to children and the establishment of families. Third ministry is this notion of family nights. What are they? They're an evening to get together at a parish. There's an opportunity for religious education, for catechism. There's an opportunity for fellowship. There's an opportunity for study and for learning, and specifically dealing with the challenges of family life. And the church seems to be the most appropriate place to have these retreats. What is the guiding principle of our family nights? Well, I'd like to think the guiding principle is the skinned knee principle. Now, I didn't learn this in seminary, but the skinned knee principle. What do you do when your toddler is running and falls and skins his knee? What's the parent's instinct? To run over and pick him up. Why do we pick him up? Well, we think that's what love is. If you love the child, clearly you will pick him up. But then if we reflect for a moment on what that teaches a child. When you fall down, when you skin your knee, somebody will pick you up. And if you've noticed, children who have learned that, when they do fall, they look, they wait to see if someone's there, and then they begin to cry. And if no one is there, they realize at some point, well, I just got to get up myself. And the reality of a skinned knee is that it happens all the time. It's momentarily very stinging pain and disorienting, but after a moment you get your bearings back. And most times you're able to get up. The second temptation, the fatherly temptation let's call it, is when a child falls and skins his knee, is to look at the child and say, you're all right, you'll be just fine, just shake it off. The problem with that is in that moment the child isn't all right. The world is completely upside down and the child experiences that this person has no idea what my struggle really is. So what is the skinned knee principle? Well, it's avoiding the temptation of rescuing or trying to create a path such that our children never fall down. And avoiding the temptation of dismissing the child, but reflecting how God interacts with us. We see the skinned knee principle. When your child falls, you draw close. You draw close to the child and you're present. You allow the child to get his bearings. And you ask the child, do you need a hug? Would you like some help? And your still presence in this child's life communicates love and a presence. But your resistance from helping him do something or she doing something she can do sends the message, you can get up. And if the child can't get up, they say, I can't get up, or I need a hug. And in practice, it's very difficult, and it's not a grandparenting philosophy. It's a parenting philosophy. We let Yaya do what she's going to do. This is about parenting. And to understand that I am here for you, and if you need me, here I am, but you can do it. And children quickly learn when they fall and skin their knee to get their bearings, assess the situation, and ask for help. And it's this type of preparation that prepares children for adult life, for marriage, for a life in Christ. Because all of us know in our lives, we all fall down. We all fall down. So if we love our children, we prepare them for the inevitable falling down and skinny knees of life. So you see this skin knee principle in just a few moments. We just share a principle and we could discuss for an hour. How does this affect me? What does this have to do with understanding our faith, understanding who I am and who God is? Family night creates these opportunities to learn about our faith, to see how it manifests itself in the daily struggles of family life, and then to think through, how can my family life be shaped by these types of principles? So the Marriage and Family Committee is interested in engaging families in these conversations, in supporting parishes to facilitate opportunities for these types of conversations, to engage us, and to connect the resources that the Archdiocese has, which we see up there as this Family Parish Night, connecting these resources to the ins and outs of families and their struggles. And however, after hearing Teo's presentation, I'm inclined to talk to Teo and see if he can automate this process a little bit, and maybe parents with a few clicks of the button can get kids to both stand up and go to bed on time. And I'm confident Teo could probably do something like that. The third ministry we're focusing on are family camps. Family camps, Dr. Gray mentioned that it's an opportunity for families together to retreat, to take time out, to go to the retreat center, away from the daily activities of life, to learn about their faith, to fellowship, to reconnect with each other. Now you can imagine a family camp, the guiding principle might be chaos theory or something. And it is active, and we do challenge the camp staff. However, the guiding principle is Christ, simply the person of Christ. Because while family and marriage represents a unique expression, a unique context for growing in Christ, really, growing in family and growing in marriage is growing in Christ. So as in my work in the marriage and family ministries, I have to ask the question, is the Orthodox Church pro-family? Are we pro-marriage? Well, instinctively we might say, of course. But if we reflect a little bit, I think the answer is a little more nuanced than that. Because, number one, if we are pro-marriage, it can be misleading. It could be misleading to say if you're not married, then really there's no place for you at family camp. Or really there's something wrong with you. Or what are you waiting for? When are you going to get married? As if the goal of the Christian life is marriage. And in the flip side, if we're pro-marriage, we think that, well, now I'm married, now I'm set. That's it. I got married, I've completed this goal. But the data on what happens in marriage and what happens in homes, in terms of the suffering, the struggles, the divorce, the conflict, really contradicts that. So if we think about it, when you walk into a church and you see all the icons on the walls, how many icons of couples do you see? How many icons of 2 parents, 2 kids, and a dog and a minivan do we see? In fact, there's typically only one child you'll see in all the icons in a church. Do you know who that child that is? It's Christ. That in the iconography cries out the vision of family, marriage, and family ministry. And that is, it's about Christ. That we are not pro-family or pro-marriage. We are pro-Christ. And when Christ is in marriage, we are pro-marriage. And when Christ is the center of the family, we are pro-family. But without Christ, we are not pro-marriage. Because again, the Christian life is not about being married or having children, but about growing in Christ. So family camp then becomes the context for all of us to gather in whatever family situations we find ourselves, to understand how we grow in Christ and recognize that this is the ministry of the church toward living as children of God as it relates to others as images of God. So finally, I just want to touch on some of these archdiocesan resources that they provide for us, that we make use of here at the Metropolis. The Metropolis Department of Marriage and Family is very understaffed and hopelessly underfunded, frankly, because we have so many needs in our parishes for resources to engage in these conversations. So they do their best, both at the Center for Family Care with that website, to produce materials for us here at the Metropolis to make use of in our parishes. They produce things like the family night. They have a brochure on that. They have something called the Family Link, which is an email which lists all the resources. They produce articles and books, one called Family Connections, regular articles and materials. And they have extensive resources that are there for us to use. And then the Interfaith Marriage, the Department of Interfaith Marriage, with Father Charles Ioannidis. Father Costa is the director of the Center for Family Care. They again have resources for us, books, articles, pamphlets, retreat guides that are there available for us. And unfortunately, there's not enough staff in the Archdiocese to do everything that they need to do because their ministry is tremendous in terms of going around the country. And so what we here at the Metropolis are trying to do is take advantage of these resources, personalize it to our settings, and make it available to our parishes and our people. So the goal of the Marriage and Family Ministry is to engage each other and every one of us in this life of Christ. And our goal for this next year is to get more resources here at the Metropolis level so we can do that more effectively. Questions or comments?
Any questions? Lady there.
Come to the microphone, please.
I'm Kay Nicolakis from St. Basilius Church in Florida, and I hesitated to come up and speak. However, in due respect to the excellent speakers we had, we spoke about technology, resources, seminars, retreats, icons, life in the church, outreach programs, family camps, family connections. I did not hear divine liturgy. Why? That's where it begins. The attending the divine liturgy. I remember, just allow me this little time, I remember a Sunday school teacher many, many years ago. She made a statement. Is Sunday school replacing the divine liturgy? Tomorrow, how many of us here are going to attend the divine liturgy? This is where it begins. And as a Sunday school teacher, I see what is happening, and it saddens us. And His Eminence, he spoke about the attendance at the seminars. The attendance in our Sunday school is dropping. Have we analyzed it? Why? This is just a question. So let's try and emphasize the attendance of our divine liturgy. Tomorrow, look and see how many children are attending the divine liturgy. How many of our graduates who receive thousands of dollars in scholarships are attending the divine liturgy? That's where we find Christ first, the Pantocrator and the icons. I just had to make this statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The comment was, it all begins in the divine liturgy. Well, thank you very much.
Λέμε στο χωριό μου, τα ευκόλως εννοούμενα παραλείπονται. That which is easily understood is not mentioned. Obviously, you're very correct. Whatever we do, all of these reports hopefully will lead people to the divine liturgy and to the cup of Christ. That's why we have camps. That's why we have family retreats. That's why we have internet ministries, to get people to understand what our goal is, obviously. Our goal is to be around Christ at the Holy Altar. Now, why people don't go to Sunday school anymore, why people don't go to liturgy before, is what I spoke about a couple of hours ago, and that's what the church has to figure out. Why not, and what are we going to do about it?
I think we can say it begins in the liturgy, but that's not where I began. I began in my mother's womb. I went to my mother's arms. And how did I end up baptized in the church? It begins in the home. But life begins in the church. So which is it? Does life begin in the home or does life begin in the church? This is what we teach. That we need to help couples understand that your home is a church. Because if liturgy is not central to the home, liturgy will not be central to your life. Why do children not attend church? Because it's not central in the home. How do we get people to come to church? We don't. We invite people and we teach people how to bring the liturgy into your home, such that your children grow up with a sense of Sunday morning, why would I be anywhere else? How could I? It's weird to be somewhere else Sunday morning. How do we instill that in children, that it feels odd to not be in church on Sunday? And they'll go to college and they won't attend church. But that's okay. Will it feel strange? If we raise them as the church of the home, it will feel strange.
Gentleman right here.
Michael Marshall, West Church, Manchester, New Hampshire. Did you say that you require couples to attend one of your workshops or seminars before you allow them to be married in the Orthodox Christian rites?
I'll let His Eminence answer this one. I do not personally require anything.
Yes, couples that want to get married in the metropolis of Boston are required to go through that seminar.
I want to state, I can't support that more, and it's my professional, strong recommendation that that's the only way to do it. Couples aren't aware of the difficulties. All they're aware of is blur called infatuation. And therapists know that infatuation is an altered state of the mind.
To answer my friend from St. Nicholas in Manchester, Father Nick Cremidas is here someplace. When he was the chancellor, and I've mentioned this before at conclaves such as this, he told me at some point while he was doing the seminars that 99 couples that went through the seminar decided not to proceed and get married. Because they didn't know one another. They didn't know what marriage was. And when they were challenged in these workshops and seminars to look at each other and to figure out, what they're going to do, they either canceled the wedding altogether, or at least postponed it until they really sat down and had a really honest talk. 99 at the time. So I think we saved 99 couples from a very bad marriage, and it probably would have ended up in divorce.
The next presentation is Philiptus.
Questions?
One, give me the question.
Please.
Or one more question, then we'll have the Philiptus.
Thank you. My name is Vicki Karen. I'm from the Annunciation Church in Cranston, Rhode Island.
Speak up, please.
I'll come to the mic. I'll try to be fast. My name is Nikki Karen. I'm from the Annunciation Church in Cranston, Rhode Island. And my question to you is, are you including the older married couples in your retreats? And I hope that you don't leave us out, because we need it badly.
The Journey of Marriage book, which I introduced as a marriage preparation program, is also used by couples as a marriage retreat. Just this week, I sent 12 to a parish at the request of a clergy who said this needs to be for older couples who've been married a long time because they still need it. Our marriage retreats are simply limited by the fact that people don't take time for their marriage. That's the crisis. We do not preclude anyone. We invite everyone. The challenge we face is most people don't want to prioritize or take time out to reflect. So absolutely, it is designed for only people who are interested in growing their marriage.